Hi there, both. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. So lovely to meet you
Hi, Sarah.
virtually.
Hi, Sarah. Yeah.
So, just to kick off, maybe you could just give me an introduction in your own words. What is Eyimofe all about? And maybe talk us through a bit the title, which I understand means "This is my desire" in English.
It's, I think in short, it's a film about family and the things that we're willing to do for them, the sacrifices that we make in order to ensure that the ones we love and care about the most may have a better life than we had, and may have the best life that they can possibly have.
And what was the inspiration for the story? Was this something that you drew from your personal lives, or what was the basis? What was the spark for this particular story?
The spark, the first version of the film existed in about 8 years ago, when I just moved back to Nigeria to do my national service, and despite the fact that my whole family was there, we had really been in two places: England, Nigeria, through boarding school, and I found myself a foreigner at home, and my immediate reaction was, I want to go back. I want to go where I'm comfortable. I want to go where it's familiar. And obviously Nigeria is a third world country, so it also possesses a lot of the traits of a third world country. Life is different. It's not as convenient as it is in other parts of the world. So that was the beginning of it. But the longer I stayed, particularly through that year of service, the more I fell in love with the place, the more I fell in love with the people, the more I recognized its potential. And in a weird way, the closer I became closer to myself. And that was the start of it. And then as it evolved, as the world evolved, the film evolved as well, because I mentioned that Nigeria's brand became larger, but it wasn't positive. It was Boko Haram, it was scammers, it was prostitutes in Italy, it was people being washed up on the shores of the Mediterranean, and then the films were coming in as well about the migrant crisis, about migrant situations, but they were all through a foreign gaze, and they were all mainly concerned with what happens when they arrive. There was nothing that really told you about who these people were. And that was a massive, massive priority. It was to present what they're running from, and also to present them as human beings, the same, wanting the same things you and I want, and pursuing the same things you and I pursue.
Mm. And it's quite a stripped back film in some respects. What was your approach in the style of the film? And I guess it rests a lot on the performances of these two central actors, of Jude and Temi. So what was it like working with them?
Yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. So both brought, particularly Temi, both brought their own experiences to the film as actors, and really fleshed out these characters in a wonderful way. Temi in particular, who lives in Lagos and is a young Lagosian woman, who was just graduating whilst we actually graduated in the middle of our shoot from the University of Lagos. So she was great to collaborate with, and really, I think knows a lot of these girls in these situations, a lot of these women in these situations. Sorry, and is not unfamiliar with the way things work at home. And I think for Jude it was slightly different, as he hadn't spent this amount of time in Lagos in a very real way since he was, I think, 6 years old. And I'd come across him in a couple of theatre productions in London. So for him, getting into his character was a very different process, but I thought really really interesting one, and one that I think lent itself to his performance and to the way the characters rendered on screen. With regards to shooting or our visual approach, we wanted to shoot our scenes whilst real life was happening in Lagos. So we staged a lot of the drama in real life environments, and a lot of the things that you're seeing happening in the background, someone selling bread, someone shaving, were things that were really just happening on the day. And that was that was done in a bid to make Lagos feel authentic, feel its true self, and also take up space as a sort of third protagonist in the film.
Mm. And you were touching on earlier about, some of the ways that people are exposed to issues around migration, in the news and the headlines, and it's not always telling the full story. But that situation seems to be worsening rather than improving. If you're thinking of what we're hearing from Priti Patel and, everything that's come out of kind of Brexit, xenophobia here in the UK. So how do you feel like a film like this that touches on such themes will play out in the current context?
Well, the hope is that in the current context, it's easier when the individuals we're speaking about are not people. And the hope is that the film makes them people. And the hope is that when one sees that this individual, that somebody has come or is trying to come into a foreign country, it's not because they want to take advantage or because it's easy. It's often a very, very difficult decision that's been made, and it's one because they want that universal fundamental human right of a right to happiness, a right to living the best possible life that you can. So the hope is that make them people, because currently the way it's presented, they're really not people. It's it's always images of men and women in detention centers or in life jackets, and it's just you can't empathize with them as human beings. You can sympathize with the situation, but you can't empathize with them as human beings.
And just finally coming to representation within the kind of cinema landscape. I mean, we're now in the wake of, the Black Lives Matter resurgence for Black History Month. And it does feel like maybe we're seeing a shift in terms of, the stories that we'll see in kind of film festivals, but also seeping into mainstream cinema. How important do you think it is to have greater representation and, to have the Nigerian culture, I suppose, people kind of exposed to that more than they might have been in the past?
It's crucial. I mean, I think it goes back a little bit to what Chuko was saying. This is a question about seeing Black people as people, and this is a question of humanizing them in our existence, and understanding that we have the same hopes and ambitions as everyone else, that we love, we mourn, we do everything else that others do. And I think the most important thing for me, with regards to the movement and content, Black content, is that we are seeing more nuanced stories as well. So it's, we're just, during this time, a lot of people have been like, oh, watch Raoul Peck, watch I Am Not Your Negro, watch The 13th. But I'm really hoping that people throw into these lists, Love and Basketball or Losing Ground, movies that depict what we're calling, what people have been calling Black tenderness or intimacy. So I think that's the thing for me, to see a wider range of Black content.
Okay, thank you so much. I think I'm out of time, but thanks so much for sharing all that with me, and best of luck with the film here at London Film Festival, which is a great platform, I suppose, for films like this as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Bye.